Good morning, guys. Good morning, and happy Wednesday. We're going to wait a few minutes for people to come on. It's another episode of Startup Bytes. So excited with my co-host today. Can't wait to get into it with her.
Kanisha's just chosen my glasses for me.
Your glasses are fancy. I love them. Good morning. We're going to wait just a few more minutes. Good morning, Christopher. Good morning, Dre. So glad to have you guys here. Dre says hi, Jude.
Hello.
We're going to get started in just a minute. So grab your coffee, your water, and get ready to go. We're going to talk all about podcasting today.
I wonder if Dre remembers this mug.
That's a fun mug. Okay, guys, we're going to get started because we have a lot of tips for 15 minutes. Good morning. I am Kenesha Raymond. I am the program manager here at Startup Tucson, and this is Startup Bytes, where we give you 5 tips in 15 minutes. Today, I have Jude joining us, and we're going to talk all about podcasting. She's going to give us her best 5 tips on storytelling through podcasting, and I have had a peek at them, and they are amazing. So, Jude, can you please introduce yourself?
Okay, hi. My name is Judith Kampfner, and I'm a creativity coach. I was a broadcaster for many years, and then read an amazing book by a guy called Dr. Eric Maisel, who lives in San Francisco. He's written 50 books. He's a psychologist, and he's invented this genre of creativity coaching. And basically, I felt like, oh my God, the stars are aligned. This is exactly what I want to do. Did lots of courses with him, did some coaching courses at NYU because I'm based in New York, and then kind of like set up shop. And I've really enjoyed coaching clients, and I'm now developing a digital course. And what I found is that a lot of clients come to me and they say, I've got this audio that I've been collecting, or I've got this story or this diary, and I want to make it into a podcast, but I'm so in the weeds with it, I don't know what to do. I've been like, it's been swimming around my head for years. Ouch, please help me. And so we've done that. And with one woman, she's poised now with a production company for them to submit it to Sony. So that's really good. And these are multi-episodic podcasts. So between 8 to 10 to 12 episodes. And you have to sustain the story over those episodes. But it's been very, very thrilling to help them shape it. And so this is what I'm kind of talking about now today.
I love that. Well, let's jump into it because your tips are amazing and they're packed with a lot of information. So let's get going.
So tip number 1 is it a story? Loads of people come, and all the years I was broadcasting, people would give me ideas and they would be an issue or a topic, but not a story. And they couldn't really understand that. A story really has to have a beginning, middle, and end. A story has to go somewhere. A story has to have that old cliched word, the arc. And, you know, with the BBC, you pitch so many times that 1 in 17 of your story ideas get taken. So it's this kind of story mill that you get very used to. So I'm kind of quite used to this antennae going out of like, no, this is not a story yet. We have to make it into a story. And that's the very, very first thing to do. Think very carefully, is it a story? So I'm going to pretend that somebody from Startup Tucson has come to me and has said, I want to do a story podcast. And I say to them, okay, what is it? And they say, I'm a jewelry maker, and the podcast I want to do is how I'm inspired by history. And I say, well, that's a topic, but it's not a story. But we can try and make this into a story, because I totally agree with you. You don't want to sit down with a friend and just yak, because that's what way too many podcasts do. And it's what in England we call being lovies. because you just basically do insider talk and you laugh a lot. And I find this off-putting. And there's too many people out there doing that. And in many ways, it's too easy. It's harder to do what I'm suggesting. But if you get it right, you have the potential to really stand out and to really get loads of people from outside your industry listening. So I say to this person, let's call her Poppy, that, okay, you're interested in history. What kinds of designs does your jewelry have? And so because Dre is around, I decided that she would say, I love ancient Scottish jewelry because Dre loves Braveheart. So we say, okay, so you love ancient Scottish, what do you like? And she says, I love the designs that they have on the swords that they put in their socks, the little jewels that they have there. And I love the kilt brooches, and I love the Celtic crosses. So I said, okay, great. Let's try and find somebody from history who may have been like you, but in the medieval age. And so we do loads and loads of research, which you have to do. And we find a medieval jewelry maker. And we think, wow. And she's called Iona. And she does the kind of jewelry that our Poppy likes. And so we researched more about her, and we decided to tell her story. And the eventual podcast will be Poppy appearing at the beginning, talking about her business and talking about why she likes these designs. Then we go into the story of Iona, and we end with Poppy talking about the present day and how she changes the designs a bit for her present audience. And then we've got our story.
Love that. So tip number 5, guys, is it a story, not a topic?
Right.
Make sure you're telling the story and not just talking about a topic. So what is tip number 4, Judy?
And not yakking to your friend.
Yes, not yakking to your friends, because we can do that all day. Tip number 4.
Tip number 4 is make sure you have a method or a structure, and you're really clear before you start what that is. Because it's a bit like writing a book. You can go on and on and on. You think, whoops, I haven't got a plot line. So in this case, it's very easy. It's a biography. We're following the life of this lady in medieval times. But it could be like a fly on the wall. Like you put your camera and your microphone, and you just take loads and loads of tape of some event. Like if we're going to keep on this history theme, say we're going to do fly on the wall of the Druids doing a ritual at Stonehenge. And then we take all that tape and then we edit it and we make a story out of it. That's one way. Another way is you can have lots of archival clips, and you can use those as posts, and you can write in and out of them. You can go on a journey. You can give people diaries, audio diaries, which is now a very tried and trusted method. And then you take all the material from their diaries and you make that into a story. But make sure you know what you're doing. I've got one client who shall be nameless, very, very sweet guy. But he delivered to me 1 hour of tape in which he was every character, every sound effect, all the narration himself. And it was an amazing feat, but it didn't have a structure. It was like, is this a battle? Is this like you doing a one-man show? Like, what is it? And we had to like reel back and start from the beginning. And now he's got something really, really good. So make sure you have your structure and your method.
I need to know more about the guy who plays all the characters.
He's so ambitious. He did everything. It was like so ready to go. His pitch deck was amazing. And it's like he was kind of crestfallen.
Make sure you have a method and a structure, and please don't try to play all of the characters.
Right.
That was the best. What is your tip number 3?
Okay, tip number 3 is to have, which is so important, an emotional kernel. Audio, and really try and think about it next time. Maybe shut your eyes when you're listening to something. is extremely sensitive. And it can show vulnerability so well. A little gasp, a little sigh, a whisper is so incredibly dramatic and meaningful. I can tell you that sex on the radio is more powerful than any sex you'll ever see in a film or a video, because you just need a few sounds and a little rustle of a sheet and you're there. So be very, very aware of the fact that this medium can give you so much emotional power, and use it to your benefit. So let's go back to Poppy and Iona. You've got to research, dig deep. And let's find out that finally, we find out that there was a day when she looked over a cliff and saw a shipwreck. And in the shipwreck, her childhood sweetheart had died. And they wanted to marry, but they were from rival clans. And so their parents said no. And she was bereft. And ever after that, her jewelry changed. And there was tons of water imagery in her jewelry. So there you have like an amazing like center point of your story, in which her designs change and morph into kind of recreating this tragic event. I should have goosebumps.
I like it. I like how even from the tips, you've told her story and it's kind of transitioned over the time. And now I'm connected to her because I want to know what happens next. So what is tip number 2?
So tip number 2, we already have really, which is make sure you have a good character. And, you know, if your character is sort of halfway good, find more things about them. Now say, okay, we've got a very good character in Iona, but we dig a bit more deep and we find that she has a sister who's an artist, and it becomes very spiteful because she says that Iona stole her ideas. Well, that's great. You have tension. You have a foil that you can judge Iona against, and we can use that to continue our story and have some conflict. So work at your character. Don't have more than 3 main characters, because it's very hard to keep too many voices in your head. And also make sure that those voices are distinguished, differentiated. So you can have like an older voice, an accented voice, male, female. Make sure that you immediately know when you're listening who you're listening to, and you don't have to go into all kinds of like explanations.
That was so much. It's so much to unpack in that. But when you're making sure you have the best character, how can we, say we start out with those 3 characters, how do we take the main out and say, okay, Iona's going to be the story and then her supporting character?
Well, it's obvious, I think, because the bulk of your material will be about her. The supporting characters will come in and go away. But I think you should never have a character just come in and go out. Okay. You should let them develop a little bit. I've just been listening to somebody who sent me something, and there were so many characters in the first hour, and they each said like one sentence. It's like, no, we really have to, rethink this. They didn't like that either. I have to push people. Yeah, I mean, you can have supporting characters for sure. Like you can have crowd scenes where doesn't really matter who says what, but it gives you some like good heft. But make sure that supporting characters, we really get to know something about each of them.
Okay. So you don't have to tell their whole life stories, just a little bit about each of them.
Right.
Okay. So tip number 2 is make sure you have a good lead character and then 2 more supporting characters. Don't have more than 3 main characters when you're telling your story. And what is your number 1 tip?
The number 1 tip really applies to all kinds of documentary or audio fiction podcasting. And that is think on your feet. Think on your feet when you're gathering your tape, and think on your feet also in post-production when you're deciding what to use, what order to use it. You might suddenly get some idea like, no, we're going to start in the middle of that scene. chuck all the beginning out. Try it. It probably is going to work. Trust in your decisions, and enjoy the intuition that this brings. I think that you'll very often find when you're gathering tape, you come to a crossroads or a fork in the road, or even what you think might be the end of the road. Think very clearly, make a decision, and go one way or another. Think about what Sarah Koenig had to do when she did Serial. She was uncovering something that was unfolding in real time, was leading up to a possible trial. You really have to decide, do I interview this person or that person? Do I pursue this story? Because you only have so much time with your audience. So be very resourceful, trust in yourself, but also be very opportunistic. Like if you're going to do an interview, look around the room, get as many clues as you possibly can whilst the person is getting set up and going to get their water or whatever. You might see like a fridge magnet, and the fridge magnet might have something like an alien on it. And you might think, whoa, is this some secret interest this person has that might reveal quite a lot about them? This is a true thing that happened to me. So really, really explore, use your eyes, maybe bring some things with you that you think might interest the person, that will get them talking. I interviewed this violinist whose nickname was Monster, and I brought him a comic called Monster as a gift. And it started a great chat that really kind of loosened him up, and I didn't get the pat answers. And I was right to go with it. If it had caused any kind of backing off, no, immediately I would have put it away, right? You try different things because you want to draw that person out.
So tip number 1 is to think on your feet. The idea is to really get to know who you're interviewing and draw out more information about them. Dude, I need to know what happens with Iona.
Okay, well, what happens with Iona, I think, is Poppy has this wonderful podcast that she puts up on her jewelry website. And basically, she appears at the beginning, like I said, and then she gets an actor who does a lot of audiobooks. And this actress, rather, is very, very good at doing lots of voices. So she narrates it, and she does Iona's voice, and she tells a story. But also, we have some amazing sound effects that Poppy has phoned a Scottish broadcasting agency, and she's found an intern, and they've gone to the rocks, and they've gone to the beach, and they've collected some sounds, and then they found a young musician who does Celtic music, and so it's all laid into, it's not like an audiobook, which are usually very dry, and we have all of this, and at the end, we have Poppy talking about how this has now given her more insight into her jewelry design, given more details, really made her feel like she was there, she could see it. And her next season is going to be Scotland Reimagined.
I like it.
And then it number 1 on iTunes. And then it becomes multi-episodic, because different jewelry designers say, oh, we want to use your production team, and we'd like stories about what's influenced us. And then that becomes a whole podcast series. I
like it. I like it a lot. And I'm so glad you told the end of the story, because you kind of left us hanging. Well, let's go and review your tips. So we'll start from tip number 5. Do you want to go down the list for me?
Yeah. Tip number 5, really, really important before you start. Don't waste time before you've got this sorted. Is it a story? It's not a topic. It's not an issue. Is it a real story? And don't worry, it probably will be. Just keep working at it.
Tip number 4.
Have a method and a structure. There are many methods. There are many structures out there. When you listen to a podcast, think, what kind of method did they use? Maybe keep a notebook and write those down. You've got to study this a bit. It's not as easy as you think. Okay.
Tip number 3.
3 is the emotional kernel. Because as I've said, I think audio is incredibly passionate, And that aspect of it is underused, and it can really get people remembering your story. It becomes what we call a water cooler moment where they go, oh my gosh, guess what I just heard?
Tip number 2.
And tip number 2 is character. And we talked quite a bit about that. And tip number 1 is think on your feet. You know, you don't have a pre-designed script. You're going out and you're gathering tape. What do you want? How far can you take it? When do you stop? When do you chuck the tape and not use it? They often say, like, the best story is when your best tape has not been used. Because it's so good. You couldn't afford to have that digression.
This was so good. Thank you so much for being here today and sharing with us. Today we covered storytelling through podcasting, and Jude completely told a story through the whole time in Bytes. I don't want to let you go. So you have to come back in the new year because this was amazing.
Oh, great.
I am going to tell everyone what's going on with Startup Tucson, and we're going to come back and say goodbye. So this week, guys, we have a lot of stuff going on, with today being Bytes. Tomorrow we have Innovation Economics, innovating across borders at 9 a.m. Please make sure that you sign up for this via Zoom. It is going to be action-packed. We have some great speakers. And then at 4 o'clock tomorrow, we have the Black Business Town Hall. This is our second round, and we're so excited. We have some great entrepreneurs and thought leaders coming in. And then applications for Remote Tucson is open. So make sure you tell your friends if they're really looking to move here, or you want to entice them to move here, that if they have remote work, they're going to want to check out the application. So thank you again, Jude, for being here with us today. I truly appreciate it. Hopefully you'll join us again in the new year. You guys for joining us today for another episode of Startup Bytes. If you missed this, you're going to want to watch the replay because this one was so great. And it's our last one of the year. So I'm so glad that we can end with you.
Can I just say one thing?
Yes.
That I've got a course called Make a Great Podcast that's going to launch in February. And if anybody wants to get in touch, Jude@judekampfner.com is the email. I can send you a newsletter with some of my favorite podcasts and give you some info.
Where can people find you? Is it
JudeKampfner.com is the website. Jude@JudeKampfner is the email.
Do you have social? Instagram?
Yeah, and they're all on the website.
Perfect. So make sure you follow Jude because I'm more than sure not only is she going to give you great tips, she's going to give you great stories. It will be worth it to follow her. Wow. Thank you again. And we will see you next week. It's Thanksgiving, guys. So we will see you next week. So you guys have a wonderful Thanksgiving. We will see you the following week for the final coffee of the year. Have a great day, guys. Bye.
Bye.